Hey guys, Nick Flores, Executive Director of Black Mountain Nordic. I'm excited to do this video today, and today we're going to talk all about waxing. And we have a special guest with us today, and it's Falk Alicke, the Sheridan High School Nordic head coach.
Yeah, hi there. As Nick said, I'm Falk Alicke. I coach at the high school as the head coach. Sarah Kirill is our assistant coach. We've been doing this for 4 years at the high school. And before that, I've helped out with the middle school. That program has been around for an extra few years. Overall though, we are all relatively new. Nordic skiing in high school and middle school level is relatively new.
Something I notice a lot with a lot of our users and just people getting into the sport is I have waxless skis. I don't need to wax them. Is that accurate?
That is not really fully accurate. So there are different kinds of skis, and it depends how fast you want to go on your skis. There are in fact skis that you would not wax with a hot iron, that you would really only use liquids and sprays on. But any ski that has good glide, that is really fun to use, needs to be waxed for two reasons. One is the ski base itself, when you macroscopically look, it's like little hair, little pores, and they need to be filled with the wax to even stay moist, to stay healthy. And also secondly, the type of wax needs to match the snow in order to glide best. So the colder it is, the harder you want a wax to match the snow. The warmer it is, the warmer you want a wax to be in order for a ski to really move well. And if a ski doesn't move well, it's just not as much fun.
So Falk, today I was skiing with my wife and I noticed that it felt like I had sandpaper underneath my skis. And I had done a hot wax about a month ago, but it was for 30 degrees or warmer because we've had a pretty warm winter. But today was a little cooler, fresh snow, and it was not enjoyable. So did I have the wrong wax on?
Yeah, unfortunately you did. We had the same experience. I was still on a wax from a race in Casper. That was a colder day. Most of the team was on their training skis, which were waxed similar to yours, and they struggled to glide. They really didn't enjoy that part. So what happened is when you have a warmer wax, wax for a warmer day, it's actually a softer wax. And when you now have a cold day, and especially we only had snowfall in the last couple of days, so you have these fresh snow crystals. They're very sharp, and they really cut into your wax. And if your wax is soft, it becomes sort of like it dragging, like a sled dragging through mud, so to speak. So yeah, if you want to use wax across a lot of conditions, always err on the side of cold wax. So a colder wax will not glide as good on a warm day, but a warm wax on a cold day is just really tough.
Okay, because I know a lot of our users are not going to be waxing their skis every single week depending on the temps for the week.
Yeah.
But I like what you're saying. Err on the side of caution, use a colder wax.
Yeah, when in doubt, use a little colder wax, generally speaking. And you can think about it when the snow gets older and more ground up, so to speak, and it gets warmer. In that case, you want a warmer wax also that is softer so that you can disconnect from that snow, so that the friction is minimized, versus on a cold day, you really need this firm surface so nothing can cut through it and then edge into your ski, so to speak.
Cool. So I have another question. At the end of the season, I know we're nowhere near that right now, it's early to mid-January, but at the end of the season, do we need to do anything special with our skis? Do we need to put a storage wax on them, or do we just put them in our shed where it could get maybe 150 degrees in there during the summer? What's the best way to store your skis?
That is a great question. So if you have an old pair of skis that you didn't wax and you put it in the shed and maybe it's been there for a couple of years, and you turn it around, you'll see your base has sort of a white film on it, and that tells you it's very dried out, and that might even basically damage the base enough that it will never become a really good ski again. You want to take your ski before or as the season comes to a close, ideally clean the ski and then put a storage wax on. A storage wax typically is a warmer wax, and then ideally don't even keep your ski in a very, very hot room or in the attic. Keep it a little more normal temperized, maybe in your basement, but at least put the storage wax on, and then also don't scrape it, just keep it on so it's sitting, it's isolated from the oxygen, and it's basically staying moist, so to speak.
Yeah, and that white film on the bottom of your ski, my wife accidentally left hers in her Thule cargo carrier, and then I was driving her car in June, and I was like, what is rattling around up there? And I opened it up, I was like, oh no, and it's a hot black box, and I looked underneath and they were all white. Fortunately, I did put storage wax on that evening, and we put a couple extra layers on at the start of the season this year, and they actually look pretty decent. So that instance, it was reversible. I don't know if it was totally reversible, but it didn't permanently damage the ski.
Yes. And generally speaking, when you buy a brand new ski, if you buy very expensive skis, there's a good chance that the store already waxed your ski 10 times or more. In most cases, that ski has only gotten one layer of wax, and if you wax the ski over and over, it becomes a faster ski. So multiple times, every time you wax, the wax just penetrates the base a little deeper. So in this case, if you have a ski that kind of was sitting there, you forgot about it, it happens. Wax it, scrape it, re-wax it maybe a couple of times. It will help redo your base.
Okay. That leads me to my next question. So, bought a brand new pair of skis. I spent about $500 to $600 on them, not like super high end, but kind of in the middle of the road.
Right.
They came with a little bit of wax on them, scraped it off, but I wanted to get them ready for the season.
Yeah.
So I usually put 3 to 4 layers of a couple different wax temperatures on my ski. How many layers do you often put on? Is one enough, or do we need to put multiple layers on?
Well, so when we prepare for a really important race, for our state race, we will go and we might even clean the base completely, like using sort of a very soft wax that kind of pulls out everything from the ski, scrape it hot, it cleans it out, and then we'll put a very hard wax on as a first layer in to try to get it as deep in the base to firm up the base again, and then we build up on layers. And when I say building up on layers, we completely scrape it off every time. So we really don't ski on wax. We ski on a ski that's fully scraped, but the wax inside those pores of the ski, that's really what you want to accomplish. And so multiple layers just penetrate layer by layer, deeper and deeper to build this all up. So yeah, if you want to have a really good ski day, then going 3-4 times over it is awesome. Now, there's practically speaking, in a high school context, we each have 2 pairs of skis for every race we go to, and just to wax those 2 pairs for every athlete, that takes from
A lot of time.
Yeah, from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 8 o'clock in the evening. So we only go once over every ski with glide wax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's a lot of ins and outs with waxing skis, and if I'm a novice skier, or maybe not even a novice skier, I ski a lot, I have a decent pair of skis, but I really don't feel comfortable waxing them, or I just don't want to go and spend a bunch of money buying a waxing table, an iron, 7 different types of waxes. What do I do?
I mean, one option for sure is to simply find someone who will wax your skis. In town, the Sports Stop will do that. I think in Buffalo, the Sportsler offers that service. I know at Antelope Butte, there is usually someone who will wax downhill skis. I assume they would also be able to do a Nordic ski, a classic or skate ski.
Yeah, and would you recommend doing that? Like if you have a decent pair of skis and you're not gonna go out and buy all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any of the tools and you don't have the right waxes, then that's probably a good option. The thing is, over time, if you do this quite a lot, it'll probably pay off to get your own equipment, but it's certainly a great way to deal with it. And certainly to protect your own investment, you do want to have it waxed.
Okay. Minimally, we want to do it at least at the beginning of the season, and we want to put a storage wax at the end of this season. Would you recommend maybe a mid-season wax?
So we like to wax our skis after a few times of use, at least. So ideally, you wax your ski, if you go out 2-3 times a week, at least do it once every month.
Okay. I think that's a good rule of thumb, because we're typically grooming with Black Mountain Nordic 22 week season is kind of what our season runs. And if you're doing it a couple times a week, I would say once a month. That seems realistic.
I mean, the big thing is when the weather swings, that's when you want to change your wax. There are sprays that can help. They will dry out your base over time, but to basically cover from one hot wax to next time, you can really use a spray the night before, or there are even sprays or also sort of paste that you can apply right before you ski, and that can be helpful to keep the ski gliding.
Perfect. All right, so Falk, we got a series of skis back here, different sizes. Let's start with the classic ones, and let's start with the classic waxable skis. Can you show me those and just tell me a little bit about them?
Yeah, absolutely. So here is my classic pair of skis, and as you can tell, classic skis are typically taller than myself.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'11" or so. Here's my skate ski. So skate skis usually slightly shorter, or if you're like me, a little heavier person, get a slightly taller ski. And then I also find it always important to have ski ties so that the base is basically protected from the other base and nothing can scratch on the base. So I'll just put this ski here, and you can tell in the middle here, it looks very dirty. We had a lot of kick wax on Thursday.
Yeah.
We put some very warm wax on to get any kind of grip.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, and then today we covered it with very cold wax because the snow was just clumping to it. But my kick zone is from here to here. So when I say kick zone, a classic ski is unique in the sense that there's a glide zone in the front and then a glide zone in the back. And that's when I go down the hill and I'm just standing on my skis, that's actually the part that's on the snow and will glide. And so I could put good glide backs on to go fast. And then when I want to be able to push myself forward, I have to basically, this chamber that's in the air here, I have to compress this enough that it touches the snow, and I push off the snow. And so that chamber, I put kick wax on. Basically, it's a wax that will hold on to the snow and allows me to push off kind of like with a running foot pushing off the ground. And the difference between this as a waxed ski, and I think you have two skis here that are not waxed.
Yeah, this one has moleskin in that kick zone that you were talking about.
Yes.
So we don't need to put wax on this. Instead, when you push down, the moleskin catches and gives you grip.
Yes, correct. So the moleskin, actually, if you touch the hair is all pointing in this direction, so it glides relatively well. And then when you push off, you can feel the hair is fighting you, and that's your kick.
Okay.
But you, again, have to compress this area enough to the ground that it will do that.
Cool.
You can also tell, I think, when we put them together, you can tell that they both have a chamber. They both are hollow, and until you stand on them, they basically don't touch the ground in that area.
Can I try something? So when you're saying when you touch the ground, we see this, they flex.
Yes, they flex.
Okay, and that's what causes it to grip into the snow. Okay, that makes sense.
And so it's extremely important when you buy skis that you get a pair that fits your weight. In the old days, it went by height and weight, but height really doesn't matter. It's all about a weight range. So this pair of skis here, there's a sticker on it. You can look it up. Every manufacturer will have, based on the length, they will have, there's soft skis and harder skis, so there's more to it. But generally speaking, you can look at the weight range and make sure that that fits you, because if you're too heavy for a ski, this zone is constantly on the ground. It drags,
Friction.
so you won't get a good glide. If you're too light for the ski, you don't have enough force, you just slide back and you will never be able to enjoy your ski either.
Yeah, I have a really big, like 212s classics that I use when it's sticky and you can't really find the right wax, or at least I don't want to use Clister, but I can't find the right wax that's not clumping up on the bottom. So I just use these big ones, and I'm barely touching this, and I find that to help a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Yeah.
recommended. What about these ones?
Yeah, so those are fish scales. So similar to the moleskin, you can tell that the fish scales glide a lot better in the forward direction, and in the backward direction, they basically have little edges and, so to speak, grip the snow. So if you don't want to deal with kick wax and all the messiness of it and having to figure out what wax on what day, then those skis are a great way. I think nowadays those moleskins are really good for someone who just says, hey, I want a classic ski, I don't want to have to think about it for too much.
Yeah.
You can replace them every so often when they kind of wear out. to go really fast, this is what you need to do, but it's a lot more involved. Just to show you the wax box that we have to go and wax our skis. It's a pretty sizable box, so all these containers have all sorts of different waxes in. I have basically, for every condition, we have different waxes, and then I have, of course, a thermometer and a bunch of corks to cork the kick wax in. But generally speaking, it's a lot easier to get a ski that isn't to be waxed for your kick zone.
So if I want to get into, like, these are touring skis and these are more race style skis. And I have touring skis, but you know, I'm constantly getting passed on the trail. I see people going way faster than me and I want to go a little faster. Can I go faster with moleskin or even fish scale skis? Or do I have to buy race style skis that are waxless? Or waxable, sorry.
Well, it really, so to go faster, if you just had this ski here with the moleskin, to go faster, first of all, you want to make sure that this zone becomes really well treated. You can buy this type of ski as a more expensive ski that will allow you to go faster, or just an entry-level ski that will just not have the same performance, even due to the glide. So, yeah, there's going to be a limit. This will basically kick okay. It'll never be perfect. Here, the better of a skier you become, the less of a kick we make this.
Yeah.
We'll make it just enough that you can still kick, the faster you can go.
Yeah.
Then for my newer beginner skiers, I'll put more warmer wax underneath and then just a layer of colder wax on top, so that they get a better grip. Okay. They'll feel more comfortable with it, but it costs them on the speed. So it's a trade-off between how comfortable you are in a ski, how much wax you put on, or staying with this. But
so it sounds like if you're really into this sport and maybe you are racing, you can really nerd out on a lot of this, and maybe if you have more knowledge with waxing, that's almost performance enhancing to a degree, right?
Yes. So when we go to a race, what really matters is that my kids have good boots, that my kids have skis that are a quality ski, and then the third thing is that we wax well. So our waxing job impacts whether or not they have a good race performance, for sure.
So we have another ski here, and looking at it from underneath or from this direction, it looks almost identical to the classic ski. However, this one looks like it has glide the entire way, and this one obviously has that kick zone that you were talking about. So what's the difference? What kind of ski is that?
Okay, so this one here is a skate ski, and this one here is a classic ski. These are two different techniques. Classic, you put your ski in a track, your feet go back and forth in parallel.
Yep.
Skate ski, you have a flat track. There's no real track. It's just a flat surface
With corduroy.
with corduroy, and then your skis are kind of going back and forth, more like rollerblading or ice skating. They go kind of sideways, and so the push off in that case is on the edge. The push off on my classic ski is from that kick zone.
Okay.
Right. So when you compare them, you put them next to each other. My skate ski is shorter, and then when you look careful, I have 3 marks here and 1 mark here. That's my kick zone for different type of kick waxes. So a harder wax, a warmer wax, and
Soft wax.
no, what's it called? Crap.
Clister.
Clister. Yes. So a cold hard wax, a warmer hard wax, and clister, because those things get thicker and thicker, and so basically you have to go more underneath where you have the most space. Versus this has a glide zone all the way from top to bottom, so the glide wax goes on without any interruption. And another thing that you might find different, my classic ski has a taller tip than my skate ski, and the reason is that my classic track is most likely deeper, and therefore the tip has to keep the ski from going into the snow, versus on a well-groomed track, I don't need almost anything here. Now on Tuesday, when we had new snow and we couldn't groom with the new snow right away, I used skis like this and ended up just getting stuck in the snow because I didn't have enough of a tip. So sometimes I even take a skate ski with a taller tip because the snow is deeper.
That makes sense. Very cool. So, Falk, we've been talking a lot about different types of skis, the kick zone, different types of waxes. Why don't we just wax a pair of skis?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, Falk, we got a few things here. I know we're going to add more to the table, but let's just talk about basic safety. So there's an iron. Those things are pretty warm, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they need to be adjustable to get the temperature based on the wax. The wax will tell you what temperature you want, but it's very important to dial that in.
Perfect. I'm wearing safety glasses because the few times I've done this, when I'm scraping skis, I see wax particles going all over, and it's in a hardened state at that point. Don't want that in my eye. Also, fumes. Tell me about that. Do we need to be worried about fumes?
So ideally, we would wear a mask, like a N95 or some sort of a mask. Realistically, I think as long as your room is well vented and you only wax a few skis,
you'll be fine.
That's what we do.
Okay, all right. So what's next?
Okay, so the first thing, I'm gonna move this iron over just so it doesn't fall off. The first thing we do is we have to clean our base a little bit. The easiest thing to do is have a brush. This is a copper brush, so it has copper bristles. And it's very important, it has a direction to brush towards, to not change it so that those bristles always stand one way. If you turn it the other way, they're too harsh on the ski. Flat, you want to be flat on your ski, and then you want to always go in the direction of travel, so from the tip to the tail. And then you want to basically just want to clean over it. Nice long brushes. Try to apply the force symmetrical on both sides. And that basically, if you look very careful, it just brings out tiny little wax pieces and just cleans it, and then you can take a paper towel and wipe it off. I'm going to bring another tool that we use in a context when we do a lot of skis. In that case, we have a drill, and I use a steel brush for this. Again, I have rotational direction. I make sure it goes in the right direction, and then I just prepare the ski like this. Okay?
That thing works pretty well. So
that's awesome.
When you guys,
so for that, you want glasses for sure.
Yeah, and I would assume if you're doing a bunch of skis, you're going to definitely want to invest in that.
Yes.
And it looks like, if I just pull this up, you just have an attachment that goes into a basic drill.
Yes, so correct. You can do a basic drill, and then you can buy this attachment, and you can buy all sorts of different brushes to do the job. Yeah, absolutely. We have a very special drill, super fast drill, can go up to 2,000 RPM. The reason being, we can also apply waxes with this.
Cool.
Okay, then the next thing really is to get wax on our ski. I'll show you a couple of different options. First one is with an iron. We want a thin layer of wax across the entire surface. So one way is to apply wax by heating up the wax on the iron, and then, I don't know if you can see how the wax is starting to be applied here.
Yeah.
Another way, when you do more skis, a faster way is to actually hold that wax just on the iron, and then take the edge of the iron, walk back, turn around, come back on the other side.
Now I got to ask you a question. At the beginning, we said this is really hot, but I just saw you put the iron on the base.
Yes.
Is that bad?
No, so when I do this, you'll see in a second we'll put the entire iron on the base. You always want to move. You never want to pause and just sit with an iron, okay? So now, if you look careful here, the initial application we had a little wider, a little more careful applied. Here we just have one string of wax. The rest, obviously, of that base has no wax. And now I'm going to go and come from the top. And it's very important when you look at a ski is very thick here, it's very thin here. So when you are with the wax here, spend less time where it's thin, spend a little more time where it's thick. And you never want to see liquid wax behind your wax iron beyond maybe a couple of inches. So you never want to go so slow that it gets too hot. So I'll usually do 3 runs. So the first one is just so that my wax starts to be distributed across my whole ski and not just in a small little area. Okay, so you can tell, just fix the ski real quick. Right, centered. So it mostly is distributed. There's still some areas that don't have wax on. So I come a second time over it. And I might have just used not quite enough wax. We might have to add just a little more. We'll see. You can tell the pace I'm going is sort of controlled. It's not too fast, not too slow. Depends if your garage is very cold, it'll take a little more time. If it's warm, if it's a warmer wax, then it will be a little faster. So just put a little more wax here.
Yeah, and I noticed that you're constantly
Some
moving.
People, yes, some people will sort of iron just like a shirt.
Yeah.
I don't like this, generally speaking. I also always like to go into one direction. There are different people have different opinions on this in general. With the iron, it's not quite as critical if you go backwards or forwards, but I always like to go into one direction, just to keep it.
Now, how much pressure are you applying down on that ski?
I put decent pressure on, but I don't force it, right?
Okay.
And the other thing to test now, is it too hot or where are you, is take this side of your hand and put it on. You can tell this has gotten too hot here. If you touch this, it hurts. This one here feels
I
right.
want to touch it.
Right. So that's certainly, you can tell this area and this area here, I don't want to go and touch again because that would start to possibly melt a little bit the base, which we don't want.
Okay.
Okay, so this would be good enough. And then we really just have to wait for the ski to cool before we scrape it. So the wax is completely dry. One thing we can do already that will help us be a little faster later. One is, we call them Luigi. It's sort of like a, I don't know what you really call this, but it's a tool that has different size of round edges. And every ski has 1 or 2 grooves in the middle. That's to channel snow and water. Mm-hmm. And already when it's warm, since this area is not really part of the glide, you can already go and clean this off the ski. I usually like to go once in the middle, then I go again and I kind of push a little more to one side. And a third time I'll push it towards my side. And that will help us later clean the skis. You can also do this later when the ski is completely cooled down. But what we cannot do yet is we cannot yet scrape the base because that wax has to really cool down and get firm.
So how many minutes? 10,
Until
15?
the ski is cold.
Okay, so you just got to keep touching it.
I like to keep it at least, I usually try to keep it half an hour away or something.
Okay.
So we'll put the ski away in that case. I want to show you the difference between applying with an iron or how thin of a layer we really want. So I'll take that second ski. And instead of waxing it on this table, I have a different tool back here. So in this case, I have wax in here, same wax, and there's a roller here, and that roller brings wax up to the surface. And all I do in this case is I run my ski over it, and I'm left-handed, so I'll probably do it from this side. Let's see. But so when we wax 30, 40 pairs of skis at the school, that's the tool we use. It saves us time and it saves us wax cost. So in this case, just run over this. All right. And that ski is probably ready to sit down and sit and
let it
be
cool.
cold. Yep. In this case, also here you see the Luigi is not going to do anything because the wax is very little that comes off because I didn't put wax in the places that I didn't need it really. So another option to make things a little more budget friendly, I've brought 3 different wax options. One very simple one is a spray. This spray in particular here this ski needs to be sprayed and then rest for a little while. So like any other time, the first thing we do want to do to your ski is brush it out real quick, just so it's clean and we don't put just the spray over dirt. And then we really just take the spray and apply a thin layer here, right? And then we let it sit. You want a thin layer, otherwise you're having drops to come. And then we want to brush it later. Second option are very similar. In this case, this is Swix. This was a Toco, and it's a liquid with a little sponge. And so, gonna push it a few times.
Kind of like a dauber, you push it down, you get
Yes.
some, and then you just spread it out.
Yes.
Now, do you need a table to do this, or can you do this without a...
No, you could do this anywhere, as long as you can find a way to set your skis without moving around too much, right?
Okay. Yep.
And then the third option, if you have a lot of skis, you take the big bottle, and
Not everybody has 30 student athletes and
That's right.
60 pairs of
and
skis
then
to wax.
we'll just put a tiny little bit on your ski, and then we'll just use a brush, and then just brush your ski with it. And then in either case, this stuff has to dry. There are some nowadays with I think alcohol in it that will dry within 2 or 3 minutes. So you can literally do this while you're out there. You measure the snow temperature, you put it on, and 5 minutes later, you're ready to go.
So again, if you don't want to go down the rabbit hole of geeking out on wax and buying all this stuff, and you just want something that's weekend warrior friendly, maybe
Yes.
just something like a spray or a dauber
Yes.
style would work.
And I
pretty
would
well.
recommend if you pick a system, and then this one here, for example, is a red. It tells you have glasses, Nick. What temperature range?
It's saying air temp would be 36 degrees Fahrenheit to 3. So that's a pretty big
This is a
range.
pretty big range.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, they'll have 2 or 3 different colors. Maybe invest in 2 or 3 different colors, so you're good for a cold day and a hot day.
Yep.
And go with that.
Cool.
The only thing to be aware of, the sprays will dry out your base over time, so they're great to ski on. They're not so great if that's the only thing you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the last thing we need to do, Nick, is we need to scrape the ski and brush it. So again, remind yourself, start with the Luigi if you haven't done it right after, so that your edges and this part in the center here, the groove, has no wax on anymore. And then comes the most important job. You need a scraper, and you want a sharp scraper. So if you buy it new, they're nice and sharp. They're out of plexiglass. If you use them a lot, get a hand sharpener. They're very affordable, and just sharpen them every once in a while. As a team, we have an electrical one. Then important, when you do this, what you don't want to do is building sort of scraping one of the sides in the middle. So for your scraper to not bend, put your 2 thumbs right in the center, and then start at the tip, and always tip to toe. So you have an angle here, so it's not straight, it's not like this, it's sort of like a 45 degree or so.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna get the tip done first. And now I try to get relatively long movements. And I just go down my ski. And then usually I kind of flip it around so I have a fresh edge. For a second time. And when I find that I no longer move wax off, then I know I'm in good shape. I can also tell by looking at it if it still has wax left over. So right now, almost nothing comes off. So at this point, I probably scraped it sufficiently.
Now I know some people have metal scrapers. Could you do that with a metal scraper?
The metal scraper we only use to clean cake wax. I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't know enough about it, but I would not use a metal scraper.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is, bare minimum, go back to your single brush that you have. If you use a copper brush, you don't want to go super hard because you don't want to clean beyond the surface, right? So just a light a few times over it. Not really trying to clean out the whole ski, just getting that surface wax off. And then if you have a little deeper pockets, it's not too expensive, you get, there are different brushes. You get a second brush that is softer, and you go over it, and again, same direction as you glide from tip to nose. And then you have a finishing one. That one can go in all directions. So it's kind of like in the old days, shoe shining.
Mm-hmm. Now it looks like you're pushing pretty aggressively,
Yes.
like a significant amount of force there.
Yes, I use my body weight to do this. And then a good ski is nice and shiny. Like it looks just reflective.
Polished, yeah.
Yeah,
It
like
looks really
polished.
good.
Right. And then of course, when we do it in a team context, we use again our brush system. In this case, I have a polished brush over here that I could use instead, right? To polish. Makes my life easier.
So say it's my first time ever waxing and I don't have it looking this polished. Is it the end of the world if there's a little bit of wax still on the bottom of the ski?
It's not the end of the world, but like anything, the smoother the surface, the better you're off. So you don't want to ski on wax. You want to ski on the normal surface, and the wax is only inside the ski. But you'll notice the difference in the glide.
Okay, so
Possibly.
definitely take your time, be
Yeah.
a little meticulous.
Yes.
Apply a little elbow grease if you need to, and get them looking like this.
Yeah.
This looks really nice. Can I take this out tomorrow?
You're gonna have to talk to Macy on this one.
Oh, it's Macy's, not yours. Yeah, it's a little short for me, I guess. Cool. Well, Falk, thank you so much for showing us all about waxing. I know there's so much more. We mostly focused on glide wax with the actual how-to, the instructional part. Would you ever be willing to do another one and talk more about applying kick wax
I
and
love
doing
that.
all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, man. I'll see you later.